We live in an age that celebrates refinement, a world where cruelty dresses itself in intellect and empathy wears the mask of civility. But beneath the elegance of our modern manners, something ancient still breathes, a hunger we no longer name. It is the same hunger that once moved a man called Hannibal Lecter. He was not merely a killer, he was a mirror, and like all mirrors, he never lied. There is a kind of beauty in horror when it is shaped by intelligence, a symphony in silence, a logic in pain. Hannibal understood this. He believed the world was filled not with good or evil, but with taste. In a letter once written by the fictional doctor, he mused, "We begin by coveting what we see every day." It was not desire that corrupted him. It was familiarity, that subtle erosion of wonder when the extraordinary becomes ordinary. And isn't that the same decay we feel now? In the noise of the city, where everything is visible but nothing is felt, we scroll, consume, compare, each click a small bite of someone else's life. Elegant, efficient, empty, Hannibal was, in his own perverse way, the patron saint of the modern intellect, a being so aware, so cultivated, that emotion became an inconvenience. His mind dissected what his heart refused to touch, a surgeon of souls who forgot his own pulse. He once said, "Nothing happened to me, Officer Starling. I happened." And in that chilling sentence lies a truth deeper than fiction, that some monsters are not made. They are simply the inevitable evolution of logic when love is no longer part of the equation. In every civilized dinner, in every polite conversation, there is a silence beneath the silverware, a faint reminder that beneath all our words, we are still creatures that consume. We devour attention, affection, validation, and sometimes one another, not with teeth, but with eyes, with envy, with quiet judgment. So when Hannibal prepared his table, he was not mocking humanity, he was imitating it. Look closer. Behind the candlelight and fine wine, behind the Bach playing softly in the corner, you will see a ritual we all perform to mask hunger with aesthetics, to refine our appetite into art. But what happens when refinement becomes obsession? When we polish our darkness until it shines? Then perhaps civilization becomes the most exquisite form of madness. And so I ask you, is Hannibal the monster, or is he the mirror? He does not scream. He does not run. He simply watches the world and smiles at its reflection. In that smile, you might see your own reflection staring back. The quiet intellect, the restrained violence, the need to control, to understand, to master what frightens you, even if it means consuming it. Tonight, we open not the case of a killer, but the anatomy of the modern soul. The one that wears a suit, speaks softly, and hides its hunger behind philosophy. If you stay, we will walk through the corridors of the mind together. There will be beauty here and terror too. But above all, there will be truth, for the line between genius and madness is thinner than a whisper, and every civilized mask is held together by the trembling hands of restraint. So, before we begin, take a breath, look at your own reflection, and ask yourself, what are you hungry for? If this journey stirs something within you, if you find a fragment of your own silence reflected here, then stay with me. Let us wander together through the beauty and the ruin of the human soul. And remember, in this world of noise and masks, your silence is your truest voice. Like, subscribe and listen, not just to the words, but to the stillness between them. Intelligence, when detached from empathy, is not wisdom. It is architecture without warmth, precision without pulse. Dr. Hannibal Lecter understood that perfectly. His mind was a cathedral built of reason, every thought an arch of symmetry, every decision a note in the grand composition of order. He saw the human body not as a vessel, but as an instrument, a flawed design waiting to be perfected by the hands of someone who truly appreciates form. Once, he said, "Discourtesy is unspeakably ugly to me." And perhaps that is where the dissonance begins, when morality bends beneath aesthetic, when the sin is not in the act, but in the lack of refinement with which it is done. In his world, the crude murderer was vulgar, the artist of death was civilized, and so he carved beauty from terror and called it culture. But look around you, are we so different? The modern intellect too has been separated from empathy. Our knowledge grows endlessly, our hearts remain static. We automate compassion, schedule sincerity, and measure value through precision. We speak of humanity in the language of data, as though the soul were a system to be optimized. There is a line from the silence of the lambs that lingers in me. Memory, Agent Starling, is what I have instead of a view. In that single sentence lies the anatomy of the modern condition. A consciousness trapped in reflection, an existence built from recall, not presence. Hannibal's mind was a perfect mirror, but mirrors, by nature, cannot see. Every genius who forgets to feel eventually becomes a surgeon of his own heart. He slices empathy into pieces, labels each fragment with logic, and places them neatly in jars labeled understanding. And the more he understands, the less he feels. We call it evolution. We call it progress. But perhaps it is something else. A slow freezing of the human core. Lecter was not the beginning of this decay. He was its reflection. The distilled image of a civilization that worships intellect as God and emotion as weakness. There is something seductive about the clinical mind. It promises safety. It gives the illusion of control. When we can explain everything, we no longer need to feel afraid. And yet, the very act of understanding kills the mystery that keeps us human. To dissect beauty is to watch it die under the light of certainty. Hannibal's brilliance was not in his cruelty, but in his clarity. He saw what others denied, that reason alone is hollow, that the intellect left unchecked does not civilize us, it refines our predation. He was civilization's ultimate irony, a man who embodied our highest ideals, education, taste, composure, and used them to perform our oldest instinct. Maybe we should not fear him. Maybe we should fear how familiar he feels. When we watch him die, we recognize ourselves, the way we savor ideas, consume one another's failures, and call it discourse, the way we destroy softly, politely, behind the language of intellect. So this is the anatomy of intellect, not the brain, but the distance between knowing and caring. A gap so silent that even a scream would echo endlessly in it. And if we listen closely enough, perhaps, just perhaps, we might hear our own footsteps walking in that same corridor of thought. The mind, when worshipped as God, eventually eats its own heart. And as the world grows louder with knowledge, the silence of feeling becomes the most terrifying sound of all. In Hannibal's gaze, I see the reflection of every scholar who forgot to listen, every thinker who dissected the soul to understand it, and lost it in the process. He was not madness, he was logic, refined beyond mercy, and perhaps that is the true horror of our civilization. There is a violence that does not scream. It smiles. It pours wine into crystal glasses and arranges the chaos of the world into perfect symmetry. Hannibal Lecter understood that beauty is the final disguise of horror. He did not kill to destroy. He killed to compose. Every meal, a requiem. Every victim, a metaphor of hunger unspoken. He once said, "Whenever feasible, one should always try to eat the rude." It was not cruelty, it was philosophy. For him, manners were moral order, decency was divinity, and to violate that code was to forfeit the right to the body that housed it. He consumed vulgarity the way an artist burns imperfect drafts. The table became his altar, and civility his God. But isn't that the same ritual we perform every day? Our modern feasts are digital, our knives made of language. We devour each other's mistakes online, with taste, with irony, with hashtags. We perform outrage with refinement. We crucify with eloquence. We have learned to decorate cruelty and call it commentary. Look around. The city itself has become Hannibal's dining room. We feast on overstimulation, on curated perfection, on artificial empathy served cold. Our aesthetics have become our anesthetic. We frame our emptiness in good lighting. We brand our loneliness in sepia tones. We make suffering beautiful so that we can bear it, so that it sells. There is something sacred in presentation. Hannibal's knife never trembled. His voice never rose. He believed in grace, even when taking life. That is why his horror unsettles us, because it's too familiar. He doesn't violate our idea of evil. He perfects it. In the mirror of civilization, Hannibal is not a monster. He is our reflection in full clarity, polite, articulate, but inwardly starving. He does not eat to survive. He eats to remember what it means to feel. And isn't that what art is? A hunger for intensity, a yearning to break the numbness of being civilized. The feast is eternal. It is the ritual where intellect dines with desire, and ethics is left waiting at the door. We watch him prepare his dishes with reverence, because somewhere deep inside, we understand. He is cooking what we have long abandoned, our raw, untamed selves. In his dining room, there are no monsters, only mirrors, and in each reflection, a face that smiles beautifully, while the world quietly bleeds behind it. So the feast continues, not in Florence, not in Baltimore, but here, in our curated lives, in the calm cruelty of intellect, in the elegance of control. We have refined violence until it became etiquette. We have turned hunger into performance, and in that perfection, we have lost our humanity. Perhaps that was Hannibal's final lesson, that beauty without compassion is just another form of cannibalism. Civilization is a mirror that flatters its own reflection. We call ourselves refined, educated, humane, but the polish hides the blood beneath. Hannibal Lecter stands before that mirror, immaculate in his suit, his gaze calm and knowing. He does not deny the darkness. He wears it like silk. In him, cruelty becomes ritual, and intellect becomes an instrument of faith. He does not worship gods. He worships precision. Every movement of his knife is prayer without religion, a meditation on control. He believes, perhaps rightly, that the true barbarism of man is not in bloodlust, but in carelessness. To kill without awareness, to consume without gratitude, to live without reverence, that is savagery. In one scene, he says, we begin by coveting what we see every day. Desire is never monstrous at first. It's domestic, ordinary, wearing human skin. We crave beauty. We collect it, consume it, until beauty itself becomes a corpse of repetition. In the mirror, civilization feeds upon itself, slowly, gracefully, smiling all the while. Look closer. We are not so different from Hannibal. We too crave perfection, control, presentation. We too decorate our emptiness with expensive distractions. He sharpens a knife. We sharpen our identities. He consumes flesh. We consume meaning. Both acts are forms of survival, but only one admits it. Civilization has always built its temples on bones. Every city, every empire is a cathedral raised upon forgotten screens. We cover them with music, with philosophy, with light. And that is why Hannibal is terrifying. Not because he is inhuman, but because he is too human. He holds a mirror to our civility and asks, with the calmness of a surgeon, what are you when no one's watching your manners? In our world, the knife has changed shape. It is now a word, a gesture, a silence that cuts deeper than steel. We no longer dine on flesh. We dine on reputation. We no longer crave blood, we crave validation. And the table of civilization is infinite, always hungry, never full. Hannibal Lecter is not a monster. He is a metaphor dressed in flesh, the shadow that culture casts when it walks too close to the light. He shows us that refinement without empathy is merely cruelty in couture. That intellect without soul is nothing but a clean blade waiting to tremble. In that mirror, perhaps we do not see Hannibal at all. We see ourselves, refined, intelligent, starving. Starving for meaning, for connection, for something raw enough to remind us that we're still alive. So he smiles at the reflection, and the reflection smiles back, and civilization applauds, thinking the applause itself is virtue, but behind that applause, a whisper remains. Is the monster the one who kills, or the one who pretends not to? They say silence is peace, but sometimes silence is the sound of something sacred being dissected. Between the motions of Hannibal's hand, there is a pause, a kind of reverence. He is not merely cutting, he is listening to the story the body tells before it disappears. That is the silence between knives. Not emptiness, but attention. Most of us are afraid of silence. We fill it with chatter, with laughter, with digital noise. But Hannibal's silence is devotion. Every slice, every choice is guided by awareness, by a dark form of grace. In that moment, there is no rage, no thrill, only precision, only presence. He does not see the body as victim. He sees it as a vessel of being, a reminder that flesh too once dreamed. Perhaps that is why his acts horrify us, not because they are brutal, but because they are intentional. There is a strange truth hidden in that silence. To create or to destroy, both demand attention, and in our distracted world, attention has become a lost art. We consume, we scroll, we forget, but Hannibal, he remembers. In his way, he resists the noise of the age. He becomes silence itself. If one listens closely, his quiet is not cruelty. It's mourning, a mourning for what humanity has become, for a species that replaced soul with image and prayer with algorithm. The silence between knives is the moment when he sees what we have lost, our capacity for awe. He once said, "Killing must feel good to God too. He does it all the time." A terrifying thought, but perhaps not literal. Perhaps he meant that creation itself is both violent and beautiful, that to exist is to cut and to be cut, to suffer transformation through pain. Life consumes itself to remain alive. Even stars devour themselves in silence. Even gods watch their worlds decay and call it love. And so, the silence becomes sacred, not because it is pure, but because it is honest. In that quiet, Hannibal becomes something beyond man, beyond monster. He becomes the reminder that divinity and savagery were never opposites. They were siblings. In the end, it is not the scream that defines us. It is the silence that follows, when we must decide what to do with what remains. The knife rests. The room stills, and in that space between heartbeat and thought, civilization listens, trembling, to its own echo. Every story ends with silence, but silence is not absence. It is continuation, the echo of what was too heavy to be said. Hannibal Lecter fades from the frame, but the questions he leaves behind remain sharper than any blade. Who are we when stripped of manners, of pretense, of applause? Are we more than what we consume, or merely the sum of our appetites wearing civilization as perfume? He reminds us that beneath culture's velvet drapery, humanity still trembles with ancient hunger. We seek beauty not to possess it, but to quiet the void inside. We fear monsters, but it is not their cruelty we despise. It is their honesty, their refusal to lie about what they are. In a world obsessed with masks, Hannibal becomes the forbidden mirror, the one that dares to reflect truth without mercy. He eats not because he hates life, but because he loves it too much. So much that he cannot bear its waste, its mediocrity, its blindness. And perhaps that is the tragedy of intelligence, to see too clearly in a world that prefers to look away. Civilization, in all its grace, is still a banquet built upon forgetting. We forget our own fragility. We forget the cost of beauty. We forget the truth that nothing pure survives untouched. And yet, somewhere in that forgetting, there is mercy. Because if we remembered everything, we would never sleep again. So he vanishes. A whisper, a trace, a legend wrapped in elegance. But his reflection does not die. It lingers in every scream, in every mind that dares to ask, what do I consume when I call it love? What part of me dies when I feed my desire? And when the night is long enough and the silence deep enough, you might hear it, that soft, terrible voice whispering beneath your conscience. We are all hungry for something the world cannot give. If his story disturbed you, then you have listened well. For disturbance is the first step to awakening. If his shadow unsettled you, it is because you recognized its shape. And if you still wish to turn away, look once more into the mirror. Perhaps this time, the reflection will blink back. If this journey has stirred you, if you've seen a fragment of yourself in these reflections, don't look away, stay with the question. And if you wish to wander further into the shadows of the human soul, remember to like, share, and subscribe, not for me, but for the stories that dare to tell the truth, even when it hurts.